Welcome to Ask Jeremy, episode 219.
I almost didn't hit the record button. Welcome to Ask Jeremy, number 219. We're doing a special episode today with my good buddy Jeremy Casella. If you were a Dueling Mixes member like 3 years ago, you mixed one of his songs. And if you followed me for any length of time, he's been on the podcast before. He makes music. He makes really great music. He's one of my favorite musicians / songwriters.
That's really kind.
Period. So we're gonna have Jeremy on to answer your questions today. So I'm gonna ask Jeremy a few of my own questions because I'm selfish like that, and then I want you guys to think up your questions and ask them as well. If you don't hang out with us live, we do this every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Not with Jeremy every Tuesday, unless he has a change of heart.
But how cool is this? This is so cool.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Let's see who's here. Got a lot of good folks. I see Ron. I see Romo drummer Bill Roos.
Oh, is this messing with the mic?
Oh, wow. Lesson number 1, cell phones and microphones.
I'll just put my phone way over there. I hope that's okay.
He just threw it across the room.
Onto the carpet, so.
That's, now they're all like diagnosing the problem. This is the beauty of doing a live stream. You have all these audio people who tell you when things are distorted or whatever. So we're just going to kick things off. I'm going to go in real quick and mute. We have this weird section of music where I say boom after, but there doesn't really need to be a boom. You know, we will. We'll talk for a minute. No, I'm going to mute it because it's going to freak me out if I don't do it. Okay, so I've known Jeremy for...
Man, we've been friends for probably...
a decade?
Yeah.
Ish?
Yeah. About 10 years
And
now.
I knew his voice even longer than that because he'd been on records, these hymn records that I used to listen to that I didn't realize was you.
Yeah, when we met in Kentucky, remember that?
Kentucky, where all good friendships begin. Yes. And so, Jeremy, you've been in Nashville since, like 20 years?
I moved here in 96, so 22 years.
22 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your deal? What do you do for a living?
Yeah, so for a living, I am a recording artist, a singer-songwriter. I live here in town. I've lived here since 96. Graduated from a music school called Belmont, and which is here in Nashville. And just ended up staying after college. And so I'm a singer-songwriter and a recording artist.
Beautiful. Apparently we're getting robot voice on the live stream. Don't know what to do about it, so
our beards are looking good, which is cool.
We just sit here and stroke our beards for a few minutes. Cool. So the big question I have, I saw an article this morning. Somebody posted or shared the article and was talking about, essentially it was an author who writes books, and he was saying, I write a book, I put it for sale, and somebody buys the book, and I make a reasonable royalty on it. And he said musicians don't get that. They may spend the same amount of time on their music as I do on a book. They're expected to give it away for free, and it's not fair, and I'm angry about it, and we should change it. I have opinions on that, but I'd be curious your take on that idea.
Giving music away for free?
Or just, yeah, sure.
Well, I think there's a difference between giving music away for free and exchanging your music for something, like an email address or something like that, because then it can really help the musician who made the music, further his career or whatever. So I think it's just an option. I don't think it's the be-all, end-all or a problem solver. I think like a question like that is a good question, but it kind of gets at a larger question, which is what has happened to the music industry,
right?
Which is like it's gone haywire because of all the. I mean, look what we're doing right now, Mm-hmm. So it's just another tool in your arsenal to connect with people, is how I view it.
Okay,
but it's not the main tool,
So what's the main tool?
For me, performing live and selling merchandise, usually more at shows than online, but online and in person at concerts. Okay. So, yeah.
I dig it. So that's maybe where, because I think the big question is if I'm going to just put my music up on Spotify and iTunes and all the free distribution streaming services, then where is money going to change hands? That's kind of the big question people ask me a lot. So you would say the performance side of it.
Yeah, that's where I make almost all of my living, is performing concerts and selling records and T-shirts, mostly at shows, but also online.
Okay.
It's a big grab bag, and I think that you just have to be prepared to work really hard within the mix of opportunities you have to connect with people and just get really creative. Whereas before, there was a fixed model that was like rooted in a system that existed.
Right.
And I mean, it all just that's not there anymore, I mean, obviously. Hey, your phone is right next to it. Do you think
my
that's
phone's here.
Yeah.
See?
So I'm reading y'all's y'all's little notes here on the live chat. So now both phones are far away.
I mean, so last week my board died, so we just switched to Facebook and didn't even record an episode. This week, something's wrong with the. So I apologize for whatever problems are happening with the audio. Ron says it sounds great now, so it was my phone. Technology is trying to destroy us. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Which is this somewhat recent phenomenon. Because I think my take on that, the angry at the way the music business is, like, you can be angry and disgruntled and insist that it be a different way. Or you can say, like, people don't buy typewriters anymore. Maybe I should stop selling typewriters or expand what I do to create value so that I'm valuable again. So that's one side of it. But then the other side is, with all the digital distribution, while there's lots of free music happening, there's a lot of ways to connect. Like, what did we say? We had somebody here from Germany.
Oh, yeah. Guatemala City.
Guatemala City.
Amazing.
We have people, now I don't have to invite someone over to tell me that I have audio problems. They tell me from across the world. And apparently the audio is still problematic. So what we're going to do now is keep going, because I don't have any other solution. Yeah. But if the podcast ends up being unusable audio, we'll do something different. But the video will still exist, and maybe you can get over the crackle. I'm sorry. I've had a lot of technical issues.
Mississippi, Indiana. Love it. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm from Mississippi. Sheridan's the man. Okay.
This would never happen in Pro Tools. Whatever, man.
You're not even hearing it through the
You must work for Avid.
You do. I got nothing against, well.
Okay. God bless America. And all nations.
So let's talk about, and all of the nations. Oh, boy. So let's talk about crowdfunding, because Kickstarter is a thing. You currently have a Kickstarter going right now.
Right.
So how does that play into what you do, and why? Why would you do a Kickstarter?
Yeah. So Kickstarter, for what I do, is I'm making a new record called Spirit. It'll come out in September. And here we are in January. I launched a campaign to crowdfund the record about a few weeks ago. I got about 12 or 13 days left in it. But you do it so that your fans or your friends or your family or your supporters can support what you're doing by basically pre-ordering the record at some given level to support the creation of the record. So it's just another way of making ideas happen. And crowdfunding is pretty great if it's done in a realistic way. And I think that, so far I've had some really good success with. This was the second album I kickstarted. The last album I kickstarted was the Death in Reverse album that had the song that you guys mixed on here. So this is another record, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's again, it's another tool in your arsenal that you can use.
Do you view it as a fancy donation button for your career?
No, it's not charity.
Okay, talk about that.
It's an exchange of commodities. So basically, there are all these reward tiers. And if you pledge to the record, to back the record at a certain level, you get, the T-shirt, the poster, the CD, or whatever. I have all these different tiers. You can get just the download if you want. You can get the signed CD, all these different things. And so basically, you're incentivizing people to jump on board with what you're doing by supporting your campaign on all these different levels. So no, it's not charity at all. It's capitalism. It's just raising money. This is what it is. Crowdfunding, raising capital.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's good.
So What is the? So we're what, about
Little
2/3
over-
of the way through the period of the Kickstarter?
A little over half. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you want to support Jeremy, there's a link over on Home Studio Corner. I'll put a link below the video too. You can just go search Jeremy. Is there an easy way to get to that Kickstarter?
Yeah. If you go to, my Facebook page, or you can go to Twitter. The link in my Instagram profile, but on Kickstarter, if you just search my name, it'll come up.
Jeremy Casella, Casella.
Yep.
Go check it out. If nothing else, and I emailed this out, like, just go see what he's doing. Let's talk about that a little bit, because you didn't just slap it all together the night before.
Right.
There's a lot of work that went into it. What did that look like? Because what he's about to talk about, we were talking about it at lunch, reminds me a lot of like what business people do.
Yeah.
And I don't think artists tend to want to think like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, a record, like you guys are all engineers and audio people, what goes into recording something is a lot of planning and effort if it's going to be good, and then editing, and so you're building something. So it's the same idea. Making a record, you're building something, and so you got to have to like count the costs and the materials that you're going to need to make this thing happen, all the way from like who's going to do string arrangements and how much does that guy cost, to how much are we spending on the studio, how much are we spending on duplication of the actual, CDs, or packaging of that, what kind of packaging, just all the things, all the way down to shipping and shipping costs. We left no item to chance. Just go through every part of the process from very beginning to the very end, and put that all in one big package, and you figure out the number that you need. So that's what, just a lot of planning involved, and that's what you do.
How did you decide what the tiers would be? Because if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, you can have, I don't know how many, I imagine there's as many as you want,
right,
of pledge this much, get this, and it goes up from there. How do you decide what goes into those packages and bundles?
Well, you have to think about what people want, and then you balance that with what excites you, I mean, I think that you don't want to try to create something that people don't want, and then try to incentivize them to support your project based on something they don't want. You want to wrap your project and connect your music, connect your vision and your goal to things that people actually want. And so some of the tiers we came up with were, so I'm a live performer, and so some of the tiers that I came up with were live concerts. I do these things called the Living Room Show, which is a house concert series that I've done a lot of last year, and I'm doing some more of those this spring. Really popular in my world, and I love doing them. Mm-hmm. And then I do church concerts, not in homes. And then I do, I'm selling T-shirts. I mean, all the merchandise stuff, posters, T-shirts, signed CDs, custom journals. I mean, just all these sorts of things that incentivize people to sponsor you at higher levels. And so, I think at the $100 level, you can get all of my previous albums, including a live bootleg from some shows I did last fall in Dallas, Texas, and then the EP that you and I recorded last August, I think. Was it August or September?
Sure.
I think it was last fall, for $100, and you get the poster, the T-shirt. So basically, what you're trying to do is put it all together in an attractive package. And you mean, truthful, like as an independent artist, I'm grateful for a $15 pledge and a $1,500 pledge. To me, it's all part of the bigger picture, and you just have to think about the bigger picture and how those pieces fit. So,
why would you do a Kickstarter versus just creating the album, paying for it, and then promoting it after the fact?
Well, I don't want to be in debt.
In debt, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could go to a bank, or I could use my savings, to make an album. And I've done that in the past, but it's just a lot easier to involve your fans from the very beginning. I have a lot of really good people who get what I do, and they've supported what I do for almost 20 years. And when Kickstarter came along, it was a little bit like, is this going to work? And yeah, it does work. And so I'd rather work with my supporters and people that get my music than someone who's sitting in an office somewhere who doesn't really get it.
Yeah, makes sense. So. I love it. All right, so time to switch over to your questions. I'm sorry the live stream, the audio isn't working. It could be any number of things. I'm not going to troubleshoot. I spent like an hour last week troubleshooting. It didn't work.
Man.
So we'll just keep moving, and we're going to try to make this valuable. I'm sorry for those of you that are having problems. But start asking your questions. So anything for me, obviously, but especially for Jeremy, and as it relates to making music. I think Jeremy's doing the thing that so many of these folks want to do. And I feel like you bring a perspective that I don't bring that's really valuable to people. So
Well, thanks,
y'all bring your questions in. And Joe, how's your EP coming? That's not a relevant question. For those of us who don't know Jeremy and his works, how many different instruments do you play?
I play, piano, guitar, harmonica,
Yes.
mandolin, and I can program, but I don't know if that's like an instrument.
You can play the laptop.
Yes, I can play
cool.
my push controller for Ableton.
What that's a good one we'll get to in a second. How do you get players when you're playing live performances? Or do you?
Yeah, well, I call them on the phone usually in Nashville. Like, when I was at Belmont, I met a lot of players, right? I know that's funny, but
Right.
so you just reach out and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this project. I need string arrangements on 5 songs. I love what you've done on these records, blah, blah, blah. Can you give me a quote on, what that would cost? And then you just call people. That's one of the cool things about Nashville is there's just people here that you can get a hold of. So that's what you try to do.
How do you get over writer's block? Or
Man.
does it just flow out of you effortlessly?
No,
always?
no, Lord, no. Writer's block is a pain. I think writer's block is a lot more than just about being blocked as a writer. I think that, getting good sleep. I go for a run. I run a lot. For, jogging, exercise. It's a big deal.
You run?
Yeah, about nothing crazy, like 2 to 3 miles 4 times a week. It clears my head. And then, you know what? Something lately that's really helped me with writer's block is this concept called mindfulness, which is just this idea of like envisioning. This sounds a little weird, but like taking the time to kind of gather yourself and envision what you're trying to do already having been completed. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like you're kind of walking towards that thing you've already visualized in your head. And it kind of disarms a lot of that fear. And then the best way I've found out to get past writer's block is to just do the work. Just freaking do it. Mm-hmm. It's probably not as bad as you think. It could totally actually suck. Mm-hmm. But you'll know once you've done it to evaluate it. And you got to do it to know, to move forward. You got to do it. So just doing the thing is half the battle, I think. I don't know. Coffee. I really, getting out of your house, especially self-employed guy. Uh-huh. Getting out, like eating lunch with your friends.
Indian food.
Go to your friend's house and be on his podcast. That's a good, talk to people around the world. Get out of your house.
If you're going to be on a podcast, make sure the audio's not working well.
Or go to somebody else's house and talk to a camera. That's really good for you. Yeah, I mean, you just gotta keep working. That's what it is.
What you kind of talked a little bit. What's your daily routine look like? Because you're a musician, you need to create, but you're also a businessman.
Yes, yeah.
You need to manage your career.
Yeah.
What's a daily routine, weekly routine look like?
Well, weekly routine. So a typical week for me, Mondays and Fridays are typically writing days. Mm-hmm. The reason for that is I'm also full-time booking my own concerts in my own calendar. So Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are the best for phone calls and for office work. But right now I'm in a season where Mondays and Fridays are always writing days, or I'll take meetings on, not today's Tuesday, but I make exceptions for this guy. But I really try to guard my calendar and my schedule because it'd be so easy for me to just not show up every day because I have other things that are asking for me. But I try to put meetings at the back half of Monday or the back half of Friday and use the front of the day and the early part of the afternoon for writing. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are typically office work. So
will that maintain once you've got your songs for the record? will you just write until you've got it and then stop, or do you like to continue?
Well, I'll probably take a break from writing once I know I have what I need, and then I'll go record it. But this is actually like a new practice for me this year. One of my goals that I'm pursuing is just continuing to write, just having that be a discipline that I do whether I'm making a record or not. So that's a big goal I need to, that I'm trying to pick off this year. So
cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite vocal chain? Gonna get some gear questions.
Vocal chain. Personally, I prefer the Neve 511, and I just run that into whatever interface I'm using. I used to use a Digi O2R, which was built in 1835. It's a wonderful interface. But now I just use a Motu, MTK something hybrid thing. And actually, I was going to call you and talk to you about that because I can't quite figure out how to record audio with it yet.
Well, clearly, I don't know what I'm doing either because this.
But anyway, maybe you guys know about that. But and for a vocal mic, I've just been using the AT 4033, which is just a utility mic.
It just works.
Yeah.
Let's see. People want to know which DAW you use. Are you a Pro Tools guy?
I used to be a Pro Tools guy, but now I'm solely in Ableton Live.
That's cool.
I just, here's my thing with Pro Tools. I like Pro Tools. I know how to make it work. I own it. One day I just woke up and I got tired of giving Avid $135 every 2 months to update, and then they quit updating the 002R, which is what I was using for an interface. And I just got really, it pissed me off. And I was like, this company sucks. Sorry if you're out there and you love Avid. I don't know what but I just as an artist, look, it's a business decision. I can't be buying software every 9 months that is going to change and wonder if it's going to. So for me, I just needed to simplify. But anyway, so Ableton Live is where I'm at right now.
That's cool.
Sorry, that's touched a nerve with me.
It's fine. We touch nerves all the time. What do you do for distribution?
Yeah.
So let's say once Kickstarter's done, the album's delivered to.
Right.
What happens from there? And also a question about licensing for film. TV, if that's
so for distribution, I use a service called TuneCore, and also I'm kind of moving my projects over to DistroKid, which is actually a little bit of a better deal than TuneCore. The thing is, if you're out there and you're wondering about this, if you've been on TuneCore like I've been, and then you're moving to DistroKid, all of your reviews and ratings on iTunes and all that stuff, they all get deleted. Once you move from TuneCore to DistroKid, you have to start over again. So that's one of the reasons I've kind of slowly moved away instead of doing it all at once. But I use those for distribution.
Guess who did it all at once and didn't know that? This guy.
Yeah, it's a pain.
I didn't have any reviews, so we're good. What there was a question I wanted to ask you. Oh, so you use DistroKid.
Yeah.
What about timing? Will that go up just when the album's released, and will it be for sale? Will it be available for the Spotify and all that for just streaming for free?
It'll be Spotify eventually. I think I might put a couple songs on Spotify, and then probably by Christmas it'll be, or maybe first of next year, the whole record will be up for streaming on Spotify. It'll be available for sale on iTunes and Amazon, all that stuff. But
that's interesting. That idea of I'll get to the free eventually, but if you want to listen to it now, you can pay a little money. To me, that's interesting because you can be the early adopter who's like, I'm in Jeremy camp, I want it now. But then eventually people who maybe don't know you may find it in iTunes and listen to it for free, and then they become a fan. They might want to come in and I like that idea.
Yeah, I love Spotify as a user. I use it every day. I mean, we were just using it, or Apple Music, but I use it on my phone. I love it. But as an artist, it's not the end of the world, I don't think. But if you have a new record out, you want to give it some time to sell before you have it available for people as streaming in its entirety. And that's just my opinion, but and the people who kickstart the record will get it in August. So I kind of want to honor those people before it's available to just anybody. Not for free, but for very significantly less. So, yeah.
Co-writing. Do you do it, and what's your process if so?
I do co-write. I love to do that. It's I have found that it's not one size fits all. So sometimes there's just good chemistry with somebody, and I love that. I've been in enough co-writing sessions in Nashville over the years where it's not a good fit. So yeah, I'm always open to it, especially now that I'm 41. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm just not precious about things anymore. I don't have to be the man, and I just want to do something cool. Yeah. So that's the side of co-writing that I love is like, hey, let's do something together that we could never do on our own. And so yeah, I'm definitely into that.
I get that. How do you sell your merchandise? So I'm guessing that he means both when you're playing a show and then also if you're selling it online.
I use Bandcamp for my website, which is just my name, .com, by the way, JeremyCasella.com. I use Bandcamp, and live, I just have a merch table, just old school. I've got a couple of big plastic tubs that I got from Walmart, and I just put all my stuff in there, go set up for the show, and I have a merch table with a cool vintage suitcase, and I put all my stuff in there.
That's cool. How do you get payment?
Oh, I use Square.
Square.
Which is killer.
Square's the jam.
Yeah, it's great.
Live tracking or overdubs?
Both. I love tracking live. Most of my last record, a lot of it, well over half was recorded live.
Including the vocal?
Yeah, on a couple songs.
Yeah. Like that was him playing and singing while the band's in the... anyway, I didn't know that till you told me that a couple...
And I love that because that's so honest and just in the moment. Yeah. I love that. And then overdub all day long, man. Are you kidding me? This is Nashville. Everything's overdubbed. So it's both, right? It's both.
I'm always amazed at how much of live records are overdubbed as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The crowd stays, but everything else
gets
replaced. Steven loves you.
Steven
thinks you're so authentic.
No wonder you and Joe are together. Well, we're not together, but we're good friends.
Little footsie going on, but just a little. In your opinion, what changed the music industry?
Oh, gosh. Well, technology's changed all of our lives, not just the music industry. I think technology hit the music industry before it hit the rest of our lives. So distribution, the ability to get music is everywhere. That opened all the doors, right? So Tower Records, which was just the best place in the world, closed. That's really sad to me, but that was a big death knell of change. And then look at, Apple is at one time, I don't know if there are now, but like Apple Music, iTunes, now Apple Music, is like more powerful than any record label on the planet. It's a computer company, right? So yeah, it's changed. Technology has changed not only the music industry, but I think our entire lives. And now we're all trying to learn how to live with how do we do life, because technology is everywhere. It's made things so easy, but it's also kind of created a lot of challenges. And so one of the things it's created is it's decentralized all the power of the music industry to where, we can all get some tools from, a music store and then record a record, and that's pretty revolutionary. Don't you think?
I do.
It's a big deal. We were just talking at lunch, no joke, about how it is crazy. He just went to NAMM. And I've never been actually I've been to NAMM once when it was in Nashville. It's really cool, but I haven't been since then. And that was years ago. But how cool is it that like the technology that we all have access to now is just it's just everywhere, and it's better than ever. Like the mics, the gear, it's incredible,
Yeah.
So it's changed the game.
Do you engineer when you're recording?
Yes. Well, not all the time. When I'm alone in my room at 2 a.m, yes. But a lot of times I'll definitely always hire a mixer. And if I'm doing bigger things, I'll have an engineer. So it's a mix.
I like it. Yeah. All right, we are out of time. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us, Jeremy. You rock.
Dude, thank you for having me. This was so fun.